The links to join channel here on Subscribestar, Coffee Cash App. Thanks to everyone who has. So Kanye is the issue we need to focus on, but Balenciaga and all the stuff dealing with that is definitely something we don't need to focus on. Focus on one guy on the Alex Jones show. That's whenever there's something like this happens, you always like if it was a meme years ago, they always go, oh, focus on what they're trying to distract you from, and the more it goes on, you go, oh, it kind of feels like a red herring. They're just trying to drag you off the path. It feels like there's probably money going to like Ukraine, or inflation is going crazy, or they're trying to restrict your liberties. Oh, all those things are actually happening. So Kanye is just kind of a distraction. So first of all, there are some people. There's the right, then there's the con ops right, and then there's obviously the left. But even among the left, there's some people who still support free speech, and there's people on the right who don't support free speech. The concern trolling Cernovich and Steven Crowder types, and then there are people on the right like who will come out for free speech, or will point out the hypocrisy of some things. So like Elijah Schaefer, Bryson Gray, Anomaly, and Coulter, and part of some of Black YouTube is coming out in support of free speech. So what Kanye does is he, if you have magnets, powerful magnets under a white table, and you blow dirty sand across it, the silicon's not ferrous, but there are little ferrous pieces of biotite and mica, and that erodes out of the matrix, and it'll stick, and it shows you kind of the lay of the land. And if nothing else, it pushes the right wing into kind of forcing them into a choice. Are they truly the party of free speech or not? I mean, when it comes to their sacred cows, suddenly it becomes, oh, free speech, but it's like, okay, well, at least you're shining a spotlight on yourself. I mean, there's some people who are commenting on it one way or the other, and then there's most of the right wing is suspiciously silent, where I would like to have seen them come out and say, I may not agree with what somebody says, but I support his right to free speech. It's like, oh, okay, that's a fair and nuanced talent. So is Kanye half crazy? Yeah, maybe, but it doesn't mean that free speech shouldn't be defended. It doesn't matter what he says. He raises very good points about that concept of like, do you truly believe in the open marketplace of ideas or not, or are you just watching your pocketbook? Because it's not safe speech that needs to be defended. That's not the point of the First Amendment. And it's like, the First Amendment doesn't apply. We're talking about the concept of free speech. Like the left wing will do this kind of mid-wit level argument where they think we're talking about the concept of free speech, not literally about the First Amendment protected speech. Yes, we know how that works, but we're talking about the underlying structure of the open marketplace of ideas, and that's only possible if everyone respects the concept of free speech. And it turns out there's a lot of people who unfortunately don't. So Kanye goes on Alex Jones show. He says his bit, which to me sounded like 3 hours of mumbling because of the mask. But and then Fuentes got in there and said a little bit where he came across as much more articulate, clear, and reasonable because he's a better speaker. Some people are better at it than others, and he's kind of laying the foundation to be some sort of future leader if they don't Epstein him. Which, if his social media footprint grows, they probably will. Which is just, that's also the way of the world. So Kanye is forcing people to figure out where they stand on free speech. Some of the right wing con ops, bleeding vaginas like Steven Crowder, Cernovich, were concern trolling him. That's the face of Con Ops Incorporated, the right wing concern troll. And if you're on the right and you're a subscriber to those people, you should be the first to point out that's not what you want to hear them say. Like, I mean, if that's really their opinion, it's like, okay, you're concern trolling them. I get that, but you guys support free speech, right? You don't have to agree with the things he's saying, but you do support his right to free speech, right? Because I haven't heard you say that yet. And I'd like to hear you say that. So to hear people on the right, when they see their sacred cows get queued up, they say, I support free speech, but that's great because it clearly identifies the con ops operators, the Crowders, the Shapiros, the Cernoviches, and I hate to say Salty because I know that people are fans of his, but the goal is to just, hear me out. The goal is to keep you entertained and angry, but only within a limited spectrum of allowable opinions. Anything outside that envelope, and they'll turn into right-wing SJWs, they'll be as censorious as the left wing. And so the right, in quotes, con ops, will immediately move to cancel you to virtue signal to the rest of the spectrum. What I want to hear from the right is free speech must be defended. You don't have to agree, but that you'll defend his right to free speech. And that's like something that, it wasn't that, it was a few decades ago where both the right and the left would be absolutely on board with that. And like, I think back, was it 30 years ago, when it's just a decreasing percentage of people who don't have those. Ultimately, when it comes down to it, the Constitution is just a piece of paper, which, a lot of people are realizing a lot of things. So, and I, like, this is kind of a ishy thing to cover, because the comments can get the channel removed. So I know what you want to say, just don't say it in the comment. Yes, YouTube knows all the euphemisms, the dog whistles, the substitute words, and the misspellings, and the spelling the words backwards. Yes, YouTube knows all those words. Go to Telegram. You can say anything you want other than a threat of violence. So Kanye is brilliant, but he's a poor speaker. And the one kind of clever thing he admitted was, he said that when he hit it big at 24, and he said something like, your emotional growth stops at 24, which is a pretty self-aware statement. So the interesting comparison between Tim Pool and Alex Jones is that Kanye showed that Tim will do or say anything to stay on YouTube, even stuff that directly contradicted his own statements. And Anomaly and Bryson Gray have been pointing this out as carefully as they can, but they're going, some groups are groups, but not all groups are groups. Like, Tim Pool was literally doing that. And in the video, 2 videos ago, I tried to explain, I was trying to get this point across, which I failed at, to say, like, it's better to have 20 minutes of red pills to a big audience than nothing. And that's what I felt they both accomplished with that 20 minutes. And my point was, it gave Tim Pool an out, because Tim Pool could virtue signal as much as he wanted, but Kanye and Tim Pool's co-host Luke was actually helping drop red pills. Like, if you listen to that first 20 minutes, they were actually dropping some red pills along the way. Tim Pool got to virtue signal and stay on YouTube. That was a win-win for both sides, and people heard that. For some reason, like, I wasn't able to convey what I was trying to convey. They like didn't like that video, but it's like, that's the best of a bad situation, is to get out there in 20 minutes and take a stick and move approach. Get in, get out, and you leave. And it's like, if my point being that if Tim's making millions of dollars per month on YouTube, keeping people distracted with like these pseudo issues. And the thing is, if every once in a while he does get close to issues, especially his co-host, the long-haired hippy-dippy guy, and then the Luke guy with the Polish last name, they will bring people close to issues. But Alex Jones got kicked off of YouTube, so he's free to interview anyone he wants. My point was that if Tim did the full 2-hour plus interview, he would have got kicked off YouTube the next day, or they would have literally shut the stream down at hour 2, or Tim would have had to push back and virtue signal so extensively it would have been obvious that he's just Susan's shill. Even his core audience would see what was going on. And I mean, like, if people are pointing out, they're taking clips from that first 20 minutes and they're pointing out, like, oh, so I can't help but notice a little hypocrisy here. Anomaly's doing it, and Bryson Gray's doing it, and they're probably not long for YouTube either. And when YouTube wants to get rid of channels, they don't have to violate terms of service. They're just like an Anomaly, Bryson Gray, Paul Joseph Watson, Mark Dice. Those are guys who are slightly going against the narrative, and that's not what YouTube is all about anymore. Like, I think most people can look at YouTube and go, "Oh, this is the future of YouTube is not for right of center political discourse. It's for left of center stuff is fine, but it's mostly for pop culture and for like unboxing videos and cat videos and that kind of stuff." So everyone on YouTube is a con ops shill to the extent that they have to cover politics. The thing is, even some pop culture is still con ops, because once you start digging below the surface of pop culture, the thing is, if they, like anyone said, there's a very limited window that's allowed on YouTube, and if you brush up against that window, eventually you're just gonna get shadow banned, and then you just get kicked off. And the thing is, even our guys, when we talk about how crappy movies are, the nerdrotics, or the any of those, the Quartering, those kind of big pop culture channels, Geeks and Gamers, they're fun channels. But if they're talking about crappy movies, they go, "Oh, the movies are woke." But if you start to deconstruct what that word means, it really means something deeper and darker, but it's not allowed on YouTube. So it's just, oh, it's woke SJW, blue-haired weirdo stuff. But it's like, that's a euphemism for a deeper, that's just the tip of an iceberg, and that's the tip of the iceberg that's allowed on YouTube. So my point is that even pop culture, Phantom Menace, Comic Ski type of channels, eventually they're going to come up against that envelope, and they're going to be probably invited to leave YouTube. And fingers crossed for Twitter X, if he's got live streaming, that will be amazing. The thing is, most of us know know like a little bit more of that iceberg. And I talk about it a bit, but the thing is, you can talk about different things within different videos as long as they're separated across videos. You can't have all these words and word associations all within the same video at once. Otherwise, it's like when you start making videos for a while, you kind of see where the censorship lies. The shape of the invisible elephant by the footprints around it. So the funny thing is, Alex Jones is kicked off by our puppet masters, but yesterday's show got millions of people to see it, and the clips are shared on Twitter. Even the guy who runs Biden's Twitter account issued a tweet about it. No, nobody believes Biden is got a cell phone in his hand and tweeting. It's like, can you imagine just the nonsense that would be coming out of that? So that's where we are, where the president's account is tweeting in responses to Kanye and Alex Jones, and Alex he's got his own website, Infowars, I think, and then Odyssey and Cozy and BitChute and Gap TV. People want to hear Alex and Kanye, but he's not allowed on mainstream social media or in the big banks or the financial services, all those Foursquare, Stripe, PayPal, Patreon, Coffee, Chase Bank, Wells Fargo, Bank of America. They will kick off anyone who goes against the narrative, which thankfully, because of Twitter, people are starting to awaken to that idea and go, wait a minute. Because like smaller and smaller people are getting kicked off these financial services and kicked off mainstream social media. Like, this is kind of a part of everyday daily American life. It's so deeply incorporated into what it means to take part in day-to-day life that really constitutional protection should apply to it. And you're putting the left wing in a position of they have to say, oh, no. These billion-dollar companies they're private companies. They're more important than personal liberty. And most left-wingers will look at that and go, wait a minute, free speech should matter more than a billion-dollar company. But it puts the left wing in a weird position because they're on this kind of hive mind where they have to defend censorship and they have to take the part of a billion-dollar corporation. And you look at the left wing, you're like, so what are you anymore? Like, you're not the counterculture where you're on the same side as mainstream media, mainstream social media, corporations, and government. It's like, that's the mainstream left wing now. They go. They were getting triggered. Like, the right wing will never be counterculture. I just said why it is. It literally is counterculture. Like, you guys aren't getting kicked out of the banks, and CNN is not doxing you and trying to destroy your life. It's like, you're not getting, like, Antifa and BLM, no prosecution. J6, Peaceful Assembly. Oh, those guys are in prison. Oh, that's weird. Yeah, a lot of things are weird. And I will say Twitter is kind of changing the game for a lot of this stuff. So all this kind of stuff begs the question is, shouldn't we be free of political discrimination and guaranteed free speech on social media? I mean, that should have been done 10 years ago. And there's some people on the left who like want to punish Kanye for thought crime, the crime of wrongthink. The system now is set up for the actus reus, the act itself, not the mens rea, the state of mind, because otherwise it's slippery slope. It's like you just immediately go into 1984 level, where there are people on the left who seem to be comfortable with that. I mean, when you ask them, well, who should be given this godlike power to censor ideas, they get all shifty and smarmy like the tricksy little serpents they are, because they know that they want the power they're. So who's this group who's initially going to seize control and take charge of the oligarchy? Is it going to be you guys? This little socialist group, you guys are going to be the ones? Oh, yeah, temporarily we'll seize control, and then we'll have elections later on. So when are the elections? Oh, later on. So, hey, Fidel, when are the elections? Elections? ¿Por qué? Well, we don't need elections. It's like, oh, so you're just going to be in power for the next 70 years. Huh. Did we get psych-opt? Yes, you did. So they label Kanye istophobic, and anything they label as such suddenly goes on the wrong thinker list, that probably future to be Epstein list. They create a shield and they brainwash people into accepting it via 50 years of media and government propaganda. Then it becomes a stimulus response situation, a Pavlovian, where if the mob labels Kanye an istophobe, then you can destroy him. They never have to define the istophobic term, or they say how exactly he meets the elements of that term, and it doesn't get, argument and then counter argument and then an issue, rule, analysis, conclusion. That's the goal of the Pavlovian trigger, is to bypass cognition. You never stop to wonder if you've been manipulated into feeling and not thinking. Congratulations, you've been psych-opt. It takes 50 years at government schools. Public schools? No, government schools. As Malcolm X said, allowing the enemy to teach your kids. It's like, well, the enemy is the government, Department of Education. It's like, so how has education been since the Department of Education? Oh, it went straight downhill. So you're spending more on education, and the results are going straight downhill, and the government's in charge of that. Oh, why don't we get the government out of schools and just go to private school models, private school systems, small micro schools, neighborhood schools, but all private schools. Oh, no, we're just going to spend more on the government taxpayer money to fund these schools. But you've been doing that, and it goes straight downhill. yeah, we're going to continue to do more of the same. We'll get different results. That's kind of the definition of crazy. Oh, that crypto is so fluid. Yeah, look at the dollar over the past 150 years. Oh, 99% of its value is gone. That's weird. Yeah, it goes straight downhill as debt increases. That's weird. Inflation. Yeah, that's like there's these massive issues. It's like, oh, let's talk about Kanye. Let's talk about Kanye and Alex Jones to the point where the president's Twitter account is tweeting out nonsense about Kanye. It's like all these real issues. It's weird how they get bypassed. Yeah, because you don't have free speech on social media. It's like 20 years ago, representatives should have been passing laws to get free speech on social media. What have they been doing? Well, they vote themselves raises. Anyway, yeah, it's government school, and it's 50 years of media brainwashing gets people to the stimulus response thing. So yeah, Kanye's a genius in that regard because he's forcing these important topics into the mainstream. People are wondering why exactly is there this mostly left wing push for censorship? We're free adults. We don't need these wealthy, powerful people telling us what ideas are allowed because we're not slaves. We don't need masters. You go, oh, so who's going to control the censorship? Oh, people will a group we trust, Lee and the Jankowicz will control it. And you go like, but we're adults. We can determine what ideas we want to contemplate our own self. We don't. It's weird that that Europe doesn't have free speech, free thinking. It's not allowed. And if anything, if they're going to want to accomplish everything they need to accomplish, one of the things that's going to have to go is the censorship. You have to have free speech to accomplish things, because otherwise, your adversary, the opponent, will simply label your idea as wrong think and their idea as good think, which is what is happening in America now, and it's definitely happening in Europe. It's like, well, if you can censor one entire whole line of thinking by simply calling them istophobes, well, their ideas will never get traction. It's like you're going to have free speech on social media. You have to be free from political discrimination from banks and financial institutions and any big corporate. Any legally allowable speech that you say on, and you got to prevent doxing too, you got to make that a crime. Any legal allowable speech you say on social media cannot be used against you to get you fired, doxed, have the banks debank you. Oh yeah, there should be protections for individual liberty. And it would be, it'd be sweet if more people were saying this, but that's what control social media gets you. Anyway, I think this is as careful as I could possibly make it. You can find this video on his website. You can check it out. Honestly, it's not nothing stunning. Nothing he's saying is so amazing. It's he's talking about his personal experience with people. It's not nothing he says should be censored. It's like you don't agree with it. Yeah. So I listened a little bit and I tuned out. It wasn't my cup of tea. Oh, fine. All right. No. He needs to be censored. Alex Jones needs to be censored. It's like, well, you kicked him out of the mainstream. He's already on ban.video. That's the name of his effing channel because you kicked him out. It's like, and I'll leave it at that. When I go off cuff, it's you should do live streams. You should do live streams. Yeah, maybe. It would be a challenge. I need one of those little censor buttons. The 7-second delay. Anyway, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys all next episode.